Hello, hello. Let's add JKN. You made it. Hey.
Oh, you're okay. Hey, what's up?
All right. We got to go live on Facebook. It's always a little bit slow. So let's get that one rolling. How's your week?
It's only Tuesday.
I know.
Well, I can barely lift my arms today, so it's going to be a long week. Did you know I'm rebuilding my travel website?
I think you told me that, yeah.
Ugh. First of all, I hate websites. For any of you who are building your own website and that's not your jam, dear Lord, baby Jesus, I feel for you. I quit building websites for people a long time ago because I hate it so much. So
I feel you. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
It's hard to build a website when your arms don't work too, because you got to do all the clicky and draggy, and I'm a lot slow.
It's gonna be okay. You can do it. I have faith that you can do it somehow.
Eventually, probably about 3:00 today, my arm will start to move correctly, and then I'll be on a roll. But gosh darn it,
During that sleep that resets you.
yeah,
Right. Stupid. All right. How's the academy going? What have you gone through? Tell me where you're at.
I completed the branding course, friends,
Yes.
and I think I'm only a week behind because what wasn't last week? Shouldn't last week have been the first week of marketing?
But we started like the second week of May, so we should be okay.
Oh yeah. So
You're right on.
yeah, I'm right on. I
Yes.
felt pretty good to actually complete it because there were several weeks when I was super far behind. But I buckled down and I said, I'm going to do this. We're going live on Tuesday. So I'm going to have it done. I'm going to be there.
You did great. So if you had advice, I guess for both of us, we should say this. Have advice for anyone watching that's like, I can't really do academies or courses, or I'm having a hard time getting my academy taken care of. Any thoughts on how to get the things done, how to make sure you do it?
Yes, actually, this is what I did yesterday. And this is what I should have been doing. This is what I actually tend to do when I'm watching courses. But I know that you sit down at the end of the night and you're probably just watching TV or binge flipping through Facebook or whatever it is. I did that last night too, and my thumb hurts today, but that's a whole nother story. I laid in my bed. I had this arm thing yesterday, and don't tell anybody. I didn't really do much work on my website, but don't tell anybody. So by the end of the day, for whatever reason, my neck was bothering me, and I'm like, I just need to lay down. So I laid in my bed, and instead of watching TV with my kid, which I would usually do when I'm quote unquote resting because my arms don't work, I set my iPad up. I have this keyboard that attaches to my iPad, so it's not just the tablet. It then becomes a teeny tiny mini computer, right? So then, and it has the thing so it stands up. So I plopped that thing. I was laying down flat and I plopped it down in front of me so that I could see the screen. And then I actually watched the videos and did the stuff instead of watching TV, which makes us no money.
Which makes us no money.
There's a reason it's called boob tube, friends.
Okay, so that's a nice reality check for me, for sure. Also, I was thinking that the thing that would help me the most, because I'm putting it off until like we're almost meeting, and then I'm like, we gotta get this done, friends. I think the best thing would be to actually schedule it into my schedule, where I'm like, it's in there, it has a time and a date, and every day or every Wednesday at 5:00 or whatever it's going to be, I do the coursework. Sorry, I got it so early this morning. I apologize. But we do the coursework scheduled in there every week, so it's the same, or even like once a day, where you're like, I'm just going to open it, or I'm just going to look at it. I'm going to spend 5 minutes here. I think it would help because we all have good intentions, and then suddenly it's the next week.
Yeah, no, I'm a very firm believer. If it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist. And you've said, I've said multiple times in the last couple of weeks that I was going to actually put it on my calendar and do it for real. However, the reality is things come up in my business and I am not making it a priority. I'm penciling it into the calendar and then it gets bumped because it's penciled in. So another thing that let's call it what it is. The reason that I completed it, this is like my second attempt, right? Going through the academy. When I first, well, actually it's like the third, because ultimately I paid my deposit like a year out. And then I finally was like, okay, yes, I'm going to make this a commitment. And then I finally started 6 months later. So come on, don't be me. Don't be me, but we're all busy. We have a lot of things going on. So if it weren't for this live, if we were not committed to going live every single week and showing up for people, I probably wouldn't be spending the time to make sure that I finished it. So maybe, and this is feedback for the academy, maybe we need to figure out how to put in some sort of live check-in. That's the other thing too. I have all good intentions to do the Monday check-ins, and I never come back to them. I do not do them. So I wonder if that's another thing that people are just like, it's not a priority. Maybe they did the work, but then tooting their own horn is not a priority. So those are the two things. I mean, I had things for my own business that popped up, but from your point of view, from the academy, those are the two things that I'm like, this is something that we could improve on to help people get more wins.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know exactly the best way to do it. And maybe that's a different conversation, because do we commit to a live call every week? Do we?
Well, you mean just a live group call?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe those are like off. I don't know. It's something to think about, because it is more on us, but also if everyone could get in on Monday and say, this is what I did, that would help.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
Well, and then it's another, I mean, your masterminds, I know you were thinking about calling them something else, but the way that you have those set up and that they're so collaborative, if there could be maybe a mini session like that, and you frame the words the same way that you did in the mastermind, so that it's collaborative on, this is what stood out to me, this is how I approached this, whatever the thing is, that would be beneficial. Are people going to just show up for an accountability call?
I don't know.
Again, something that would probably lose priority, unless, of course, you figure out how to gamify it, which is the answer to everything. But that's a hard thing to figure out sometimes, a lot of times.
Maybe gamifying it. I like that. I'm going to write that down. Maybe not for a call, but maybe there's a way to gamify some part of it, the check-in, something to kind of help. And I'm going to add some steps, some not really classes, but kind of to it, that's like, hey, here's some ways to make sure you're getting this done. Now, the academy has a 10 times higher completion rate than the national average. So honestly, most people are getting through it. About half of the people are getting through it, when it's like 5 to 12% everywhere else. So I feel okay about it. But if we could get up to 80% or something like that, it would help a lot, because we sign up for these things all the time. Everyone does. And then we don't really find time to do it. So if I can find a way to teach that and help, it would help for sure. But tell me what you learned from branding. Was there anything you are applying to your business, or that you liked, or that you're changing, or that is currently helping you? That's a lot of things.
That is a fantastic question. So I feel like, and I say this with confidence because I've had several different branding strategy sessions with different people. And so the look of my brand is, I feel pretty confident in my brand. Like, we'll say 85% confident. But some of the things that I was thinking about yesterday, first of all, I was working on more of a tagline, right? So if money can buy you things and MasterCard takes care of everything else, or whatever it is, and all of the the actual messages that brands have, I don't have that piece, that tiny little snippet nailed down. So I worked on some things with that. I love my logo. from a visibility standpoint, however, because it has the pink and the yellow gradient, I think it could be more visible. And I think I could maybe make the logo stand out more. Like I slap that bad boy on everything, but because my colors are so dark, it gets lost sometimes. And I know, right? Like you need different variations, right? Like I have white variations and I have black variations, and then I have the actual variation. But I do not make that logo stand out like it could. So that's the other thing that I'm gonna focus on, or that I'm gonna work on, is tweaking that so that it's more visible. I put my face everywhere, so I think people are pretty, like, when they see my face, they know, hey, that's JKN and she solves problems. So I feel good about that too. But the logo and the tagline.
The tagline for me is, I realize I don't really have a tagline, so my logo standalone. I don't know if people would know what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really created the tagline to go with it. So I think that's something I have to do. And my brand hasn't really been looked at in over a year and a half. And so I'm kind of like looking at it a little bit harder. And there's other things we can do to like clean it up. And I paid Cami to make me those astronauts. I have these super cute astronaut doodles, in case nobody knew. She's like our little mascot, except she's never been introduced to the world in any shape or form. She just like shows up randomly in places. Yeah, look, see how cute she is? And I need to be using that more and tell her story and create a story for her, talk about her, and kind of
Luna, right?
Mascot. I'm not doing it at all. What's that?
Her name is Luna, right?
Her name is Luna. Yeah. And no one knows that because I've never put her out anywhere. So I need to redo some stuff so we can have this cute little mascot. That means that, like, I think instead of my face too on the social media platforms, it needs to be her face on the social media platforms. This kind of helps me with my business because I built a business where I don't want to be the front and center. That was what I was figuring out with my branding too, is I didn't build this so it's all around me. I want to have other coaches that can help people and help businesses move forward. I can't just continue to put my own face up there, which is why she exists.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to change some stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
And
because if you're, and this is just, down the road, if your face is actually the imagery of the brand, then it's going to be hard to sell it later.
Exactly. It's going to be hard to sell it later. It's hard. Sorry, I got up way too early. I already said that. I got up way too early. It's also hard for people sometimes to like want to work with another coach within the business, because my face is on everything. So it feels like they're getting like a step down, even though they're not. I'm not the best coach here, even though they're not getting a step down, because that's how it's been branded, is kind of around me. It is going to cause problems as we move forward. So I realized as I was going through that I was like, oh, I gotta fix this all sooner rather than later. I've kind of been sitting on it for a while, and we just need to move forward.
You gave me a lot to think about, actually, because like I said, my face is everywhere. So that's not, who's going to want to buy my business later unless I continue to work in it. But one thing that I feel really well, not in the last 30 days, if you're paying attention. But I collaborate with a lot of people, and I love to use other people in all of my marketing. So I love to highlight other experts and things like that. So that's another thing I want to think about. How can I tweak my brand a little bit so it's more inclusive? So in the future, if I decide to sell, or if I bring in more coaches on a regular basis or whatever I'm doing, then it's less me front and center. Although I do like to be front and center.
I think that's a good thing. I think it's okay for sure.
Well,
but I do like,
that's literally part of my brand. Like, that is me being loud and front and center. Like, and teaching people that it's okay to be loud. That's where I have that fine line, right? Like, I want people to feel like they can, because I never used to be this way. Me being real and upfront and in your face, like all the time, not giving it a flip, is only a couple, like, stepping into who I really am only happened a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah. Behind the scenes, like meetings and whatnot. Oh yeah. All the time. But front facing, publicly branding, all of the things, No, I was very like, I didn't want to ruffle feathers because I worked with, other people in my team. So like for instance, in the travel company, I did all of the marketing. Well, not all. We hired other people. I don't want to take all the credit. But even when I was training and things like that, I made sure not to say anything that would be what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't want to offend anybody. I would not say what I wanted to in the situations because I needed to think about what everybody thought.
Yeah.
I don't play that game anymore. Which is also why I don't train a lot in the travel company anymore.
I think it's good. I think it's good to step into yourself and be like, I'm not dealing with this crap anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for us both to be like looking further down the road in our businesses, like we were talking about, where we're like, oh, I might want to sell this one day, or I want to hire more people. I don't want everyone to have to work with me. And that means I have to replace my face with something different. I can't be front and center anymore. And I kind of forgot that I needed to do that until I was watching these classes and was like, oh, I'm getting off. Which is why I tell everyone to do this repeatedly, is because it's so easy to we just kind of drift and then we end up going in an entirely different direction.
Drifting is a really good way to put it, because if you think about it, if a plane takes off from LA and they accidentally let's say they're headed for New York and they're off 1% of a degree, they're going to end up in like Mexico. So seriously, so that's good that we revisit it, because it is so easy to get off track. And if you let it go on long enough, you're going to be lost, like the people from Lost, where nobody can ever find you.
Yeah. And it is really easy because you're just off a little bit to start with.
This 1%.
Yeah. But if you keep going that way, now you're like, crap, I built this whole entire business around me, or I built this whole entire business around this other thing. This isn't what I wanted to create. And it's significantly harder to go back than to just make a micro adjustment at the beginning. So I don't know, going back through it's been good for me. It's been harder than I expected to find time, to make time to go through the classes. So for me, it's going in my schedule, phone goes off, everything's turned off, and I'm just going to get it done. It takes like an hour every week. It's not even that big of a deal. Excuse me. It's not even that big of a deal, but it's so easy to put off.
Watch the videos on 2 times speed. Kara talks pretty fast, so maybe 1.5 times speed, which I love. There are some people that I speed up that talk even faster, and somebody will be in the room with me and they'll be like, why are you watching a gerbil? Because I don't have time.
Yeah, but I can put together an hour or two. That's really all it's taking. An hour or two every single week and really work on my business instead of in my business, and look at it from a higher CEO perspective instead of just slogging through the weeds, which is sometimes what it feels like.
Yeah.
And hoping I figured out.
Hopefully, as we're going through, I say we, as in other people watching this, hopefully as you're going through this, you're getting to the place where you're learning things and doing things that you can outsource. Like all you have to do is figure out what needs to be changed and then pass it off to somebody else if you can, so that you can stay focused on your genius. Because a lot of the things that we're talking about are not people's area of genius, which is why they're not done correctly.
Yeah.
And that's probably why, if you're doing this, you should consider Kara's new coaching thing, because then you can work with people who are experts all the time, unlimited.
We do have new coaching that will come out in officially launches in like 4 days. I'm going to tell you about it real quick and then we're going to go. It is unlimited coaching. So you can call in as often as you need someone and get an appointment, and we'll sit down with you. These are 15-minute quick sessions. So we're just focusing on, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? The only caveat to this is once you've had a session, you have to finish whatever your task is before you can book the next session. So if I'm like, okay, I need you to write out your branding story, you got to do that before we jump on the next one. This helps us move like really fast because we're not wasting a ton of time talking. We're not wasting a ton of time being like, I didn't do anything, let's talk about it. We're just getting stuff done. Super good accountability. So that comes out on the 15th. If anyone is like, I need more, that's where it is.
I just had a genius idea. I'll tell you after.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's one of those genius ideas. We need to flesh it out before we say it out loud.
Any last tips of advice or thoughts before we go?
Listen, if you paid for this course, figure out how to make it work or how to do the work, because it's going to save you so much time and energy later. Like, I know that we're all busy. We're all building businesses. We all have clients. We're all trying to find new clients. But if we don't have our foundations in place, and if we're not making sure that we're staying up to date with everything, the branding, the marketing, all of it, we're going to get off track, and then we're going to waste all that time and money and energy, mostly the money and the energy. And I don't want to see anybody fail.
I agree.
So if you're going to commit to anything, make sure that you commit to having the foundations of your business in place so that it lasts.
Perfect. I love it. Anything for me that I have to, that's not even a sentence. Final thoughts that I might have. Don't skip your branding either. So many people are like, it doesn't really matter. It's just how things look. It's not. It's significantly more important than you think. People spend an easy 30 to 40% more with companies who have a brand they recognize and they identify with. So make sure you get in there and actually do it. Do not skip this step.
Oh, I actually took the quiz. I did it. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize there was a quiz, but I took the quiz and I screamed out loud. Every time somebody says this out, I scream at the computer. But the question is your brand your logo? I screamed at the computer.
I love it. All right, guys, we will be back next Tuesday, same time. We're going to continue to go through the academy, tell you what we're learning, how it's changing our businesses, what it's shaping, and tips and tricks we learn along the way. We will see you next week.
See ya.